Alright, so you just started your first playthrough of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Maybe it's not your first playthrough. Maybe you've done this before. Maybe you're just starting a new character. And you get to the point where you're sitting around the fire. And after sitting next to the fire, you are sprung with a question that you are having a little bit of trouble answering. And it's not because it's a difficult question, but rather because you're not sure which beginning stat bonus is the best one to start out with. Now, if you haven't seen my video for which stat bonus to choose in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, this is actually going to be somewhat similar, but it's actually going to be very different in one specific way. For the original version of the game, I did eventually determine that the stat bonus you choose does kind of depend on what you want to do with your character and what your overall play style is going to be. And that doesn't apply here for one very special reason. But basically for the original game, what I had determined is that you either want to start with vitality or speech, depending on whether or not you want to do a full max character build. If you're going for full max level in the original game, level 20 and everything, you are going to want to choose speech as your main skill because it is the hardest to raise, with vitality being a close second just because of how useful it is at the beginning of the game to have extra vitality for extra health, extra stamina, that sort of thing. But the reason why it's different for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is because there is a very extremely overpowered experience exploit that you can use to get essentially infinite experience in strength, agility, and vitality, all at the very beginning of the game with essentially no effort or setup at all. And I'm not going to get into that here, but I do have a video that I made recently on this, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't already. It's a very, very overpowered experience gaining method that'll take care of all of your strength, agility, and vitality needs, as well as giving you some stealth experience as well. So yeah, definitely go check that video out. But the main point here is that these three skills are not only just extremely easy to raise, but there is that particular experience exploit that literally raises all three of these simultaneously at a surprisingly fast rate and also very easily. So in my opinion, all three of these would be a waste of a bonus stat point given how easy it is to get experience in these three skills. And for that reason, speech is definitely the stat bonus you want to choose at the beginning of the game. It's far too easy to get experience in the other three stats to justify choosing any of them as a stat bonus. It just doesn't make sense. And not only is it just good in general because the more speech you have, like, you know, the better things kind of go for you in the world, but also because it is such a hard skill to raise. And I know it was really, really hard in the original game. It might have been made a little bit easier in this game. I'm not completely sure about that, but it is still definitely the hardest of the four stats to raise. And if you are going for that level 30 max character, you do need to max all of your stats. So you need level 30 strength, level 30 agility, level 30 vitality, and level 30 speech to reach character level 30. So getting as much bonus in speech as possible early on is gonna just make that whole journey a lot easier getting to level 30. So there's almost no reason not to choose speech as your starting skill, but I think all of the reasons I've listed definitely make it the objective best choice at the beginning of the game. So we're gonna go with speech. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting, and the video is definitely not about this part, but I did want to at least kind of weigh in on this choice as well. First of all, for the same reason why we wouldn't choose strength, vitality, or agility, I'm also going to knock stealth off of this list, even if you want to be a stealth character. Because again, the way you get stealth experience is so easy, and you can do it so early on that, trust me, you don't want to waste this point on stealth. Like, you could max your stealth before you even like really start the game. So just don't choose stealth, really, is kind of the biggest takeaway here. Houndsmaster is gonna depend very heavily on how much you actually think you're gonna utilize Mutt. Personally, on my main playthrough, I still haven't even got Mutt back yet. I'm sure he's very useful in combat situations. I'm sure there's a lot of benefits to having the dog. I just in general don't really like dogs in games, so you're gonna find me avoiding that almost every time. But if you really like the way that dogs in this game work and how they help you in combat, maybe go for Houndmaster, I don't know. Potentially having a higher level in Houndmaster could be more beneficial early on, just so that your dog's able to kind of do a little bit more earlier on. So that could actually be a really beneficial one if you like the dog playstyle. Other than that, you're stuck with Scholarship or Survival. And again, all of these are going to kind of depend on your playstyle, but I think generally Survival is the one you want to go with. It's been combined with like herbalism and stuff like that. So getting your survival skill up is essentially getting your herbalism skill up. And because of some of the perks that you get for herbalism, I think this is actually a really good option early on, just so you can get all of those herbalism perks basically right off the bat. And then scholarship, I believe, includes alchemy, you know, obviously your ability to read, and that also kind of helps with some skill check type stuff as well. So if you're doing more of like a talk your way out of trouble build, scholarship is definitely the way you want to go. For overall survival, obviously survival is a good way to go. Aside from those two, if you really like the way that the dog plays in this game, Houndmaster is probably actually a really good option, just so that you have more things that your dog can do earlier on, and it'll just be a lot more helpful when you need it. Personally though, I go with survival most of the time. I think if I was doing more of like a pacifist, talk your way out of trouble type of dude, like a Riz build, I would be doing scholarship for sure. And if I had literally any interest in the dog in this game, that would definitely be on the table, but I still don't know if I would choose it over survival personally. But if you do really like the way dogs play, Houndmaster is probably a really good option, but I'm gonna go with survival. Now this is gonna be even less important in my opinion, but I think with how easy it is to gain skills in your normal weapon skills, I would say marksmanship is probably the way you want to go. Like if you're doing just a general build, I think having your marksman higher at the beginning is a lot more useful than having like an extra point or two in your sword skill or whatever. I mean, the melee combat in this game is a lot more straightforward than the marksmanship in my opinion. Marksmanship, you're really relying on things like your draw speed, the steadiness of your aim, and things like that. So if you intend to use any form of marksmanship in this game, really, I think you should start with marksman as your bonus. I don't know if I could ever really suggest unarmed. That seems kind of like a waste of a point, if we're being completely honest here. Like that's a very niche build where you're choosing unarmed here. The thing is, like the melee weapons, it's like you're gonna be able to raise these pretty easily with training or with just bashing away at like cows or something like that. So I honestly don't really recommend these two. But marksmanship, whether or not you're doing like an actual assassin marksman type build, or you're just doing a general build where you carry around a sword and a bow with you, I think marksman is the smartest choice as far as having the early bonus. So we're gonna choose that as well. But anyways, that is what I consider to be the optimum stat and skill bonus choice at the beginning of the game. The main focus of this video is really the stat bonuses specifically, but you know, obviously you get a little bit of information for the skill bonuses there too. But yeah, ultimately speech is gonna be the stat bonus you want to choose at the beginning of honestly both games, if we're being completely honest. But for sure for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, speech is the absolute objective way to go, just because of how easy it is to exploit experience for the other three stats. And then of course, if you're having trouble deciding on your skill bonuses, you get a little bit of information there too. So anyways, hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. I definitely find that useful, and it definitely helps my channel out, so it's greatly appreciated. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.